welcome to Overdrive. I am Soini Dutt. We are at the 16th edition of the Auto Expo at Greater Noida. 48 manufacturers will be showcasing their latest concepts, electric vehicles and of course production-ready models. So let's check out the biggest unveils from Auto Expo 2023.
Finally, a lot of excitement at the 2023 Auto Expo. The Jimny is finally here, and as you can see, it's got two doors on the side. That means this is a five-door. It's an exclusive five-door that has been launched first in India. Might be considered for other markets as well. This is, of course, the accessorized version. So you will see a lot of bits that will be available as a part of the Maruti Genuine Accessories program. Like, for example, these plates that you see here, or even the textured scuff plates that you see. That's not the stock. That's going to be different. Also, the chrome that you see on the grille, etc. Sits on a ladder frame chassis, has 5 doors. It is the same length as a Thar 2-door. So that's about 3985 millimeters. It's a sub 4 meter vehicle, but it's not as wide as a Thar. In fact, it's not even as wide as a Baleno. So the width is lesser, the height is also lesser. There are going to be only 2 variants, not too many to choose from, and both are going to have side and curtain airbags as standard. So safety equipment is decent. You get disc brakes at the front, drum brakes at the rear. What goes under the hood is the older 1.5 K15B engine, the 1.5 petrol. It is mated to the older 4-speed torque converter automatic, or you can have it with a 5-speed manual. Also, there is the All Grip Pro, which means that inside you're going to have an additional lever that will allow you to shift between 2-wheel, 4-wheel and 4 low modes. We've already seen test mules of the Baleno Cross. That is what everyone was calling it, probably the internal name as well, we don't know. But anyway, it's taken shape as this. But instead of a mere Baleno with some cladding on it, they have significantly changed the look, especially at the front and the rear, to make it look closer to a Grand Vitara than a Baleno. So you see the signature 3-pot treatment for the DRLs as well as the headlight cluster. So you will see all of that arrangement right here, and you'll see a similar arrangement at the rear as well. Even the tail, if you see, it's got that big light bar, and then they have done these 3 stylized light pots to again establish a bit of that familial connection with the Grand Vitara more than the Baleno. But there's no denying it is based on the Baleno. Same boot as the Baleno. You see the tapering or the pinched glass house, and then this is what the cabin looks like. So in terms of the headroom or the legroom, foot space, etc., all of that is going to remain the same. So what you get under the hood are 2 engine options. At the base is a 1.2 liter petrol engine that puts out about 89 PS of power, and the top end is the booster jet engine. We've seen that in the Baleno RS in the past. Is the 1 liter turbocharged engine, and that puts out about 100 PS of power. But the turbocharging also gives it better torque. It's 147 Newton meters of torque. So that additional torque is something that might attract a lot of people. So in terms of the market placement, in terms of the portfolio placement, it will be placed above the Ignis. So this is what the Frunks is all about. So we are now at the Hyundai exhibit at the 2023 Auto Expo. It was crowded because Shah Rukh Khan was here, of course, and also because the Ioniq 5 is now here. They've also announced the pricing, and interestingly, they undercut the Kia EV6, the technical sibling of this car, by a good 15 lakh rupees. What I really love about the car is the design, how they have carried over the proportions and the design elements of the concept and actually put it out on the road. I mean, just look at those DRLs. Look like small Lego units, pixelated lights. It just looks so nice. It's so refreshing compared to everything that we've seen in the EV space. And mind you, EVs usually want to try something different than the conventional cars that we've seen, but this one really takes it to a whole new level. Look at that rear 3/4. I think another pretty angle for this car. That pixelation theme, you can also see it in smaller details like these. That's the charging socket. And like the EV6, this one also gives you the vehicle to load functionality. So I really like all these design details. These aero wheels are quite nice. Here for the India spec model, you get 20-inch wheels shod with 255 section tires. Unlike the EV6, which gives you the curved display, this gets a flatter unit, but you get two 12.3-inch screens right here. Beauty is all these materials, or rather most of these materials, are made using sustainable materials, including recycled PET bottles. In terms of the battery capacity, it runs a 72 kilowatt hour battery pack. Compare that to a 77 kilowatt on the EV6 from Kia. It also puts out lesser power, around 214 PS. So with the lesser power, despite having that smaller battery pack, it actually claims a longer range, 631 kilometers ARAI certified. That's the range that the Ioniq 5 is claiming. So overall, I think it is an excellent package on paper in terms of the specs and in terms of the design. We are at the Kia exhibit at the 2023 Auto Expo, and this is the Kia EV9 Concept. It makes its India debut here. It's here for the Indian audience. It is one of the largest representations of Hyundai and Kia's eGMP, or Electric Global Modular Platform. That long wheelbase, it measures almost 3.1 meters. The vehicle measures almost 5 meters. So yes, it's natural for a lot of you to draw comparisons of this vehicle with the Range Rover. It uses a 77 kilowatt hour battery pack, very similar to the EV6, and this battery pack also supports up to 350 kilowatt charging, which means within minutes you can go from 10 to 80% on this battery pack. Of course, this is a concept vehicle, which is why you see no B-pillars, rear hinge doors, these flared arches, really huge wheels right here. So all of that is likely to be toned down, watered down to a large extent when this vehicle goes into production. There are 3 rows of seating, and the middle row can lay completely flat, and the front row, where the driver and the co-passenger sit, those particular seats can be completely rotated, swiveled, so that you face the rear seats, the third row that you see here, for a lounge-like arrangement with a completely flat floor in between. This will enter production, and I believe they're looking at a timeline where they want the production vehicle to be out on the road by 2024.
Considering many luxury car and two-wheeler manufacturers had decided to give the Auto Expo 2023 a miss, we were very curious to see what the participants would put on show, and needless to say, we weren't disappointed. After this very short break, we'll take you through all the EVs showcased at the Auto Expo 2023. Welcome back. You're watching our coverage of the 16th edition of the Auto Expo right here at Greater Noida. Now, the intent towards sustainable mobility is pretty apparent. Right behind me, as you can see, let's check out the electric vehicles on display.
The highlight of the BYD exhibit here at the Auto Expo is the BYD Seal sedan. Now, it is a 4-door sedan. I think it looks a bit like the Porsche Taycan from the front and a Tesla from the rear, but I think it's a very good looking sedan. So this will be launched in the 4th quarter of this year. It uses the same platform, it uses the same blade battery pack. It's got an 82 kilowatt hour capacity though, and it goes from 0 to 100 in 3.8 seconds. So it is a very quick car, just as quick as it looks. As for the wheels, you get 19-inch rims, again aero rims like what we've seen on the Atto 3. That 82 kilowatt hour battery pack is good for a range of almost 700 kilometers is what I'm told. So we will hopefully review this vehicle sometime this year. The other vehicle that's attracting a lot of attention is the Harrier EV. Very close to production, coming out real soon. Apart from the electric powertrain, it also looks different than the Harrier that we've seen. Basic theme remains the same. Yes, it carries forward the DRL in the brow and the headlight in the bumper arrangement, but like we saw on the Curvv, they are now going to go with a more compact design for the headlight, because now manufacturing processes are better. They are able to get a finer design on this particular theme. This particular vehicle goes on sale in 2024. It's based on the Gen 2 electric platform for Tata, which means these are vehicles that were originally intended for ICE and then they were also electrified later. You'll also see in the front end that little box which sort of hints that there will be ADAS tech that is coming not just to the Harrier EV but also to the Harrier ICE. And because this is a Gen 2, the battery pack will not be the most optimized, but they're promising a 400 plus kilometer range. Let's also take a look at the rear. The horizontal light bar is there and there. I think this really looks good. So this is the Harrier EV. They're still in the process of finalizing what the battery specs should be. You can also see there are no door handles here. It says touch to open. And that is how it opens. This vehicle is coming out in 2024 in its production form. And before that will come the Harrier ICE with an updated face and updated equipment. We are now at the MG exhibit at the Auto Expo. You can see that's the image of the Hector. That's because they have revealed the pricing for the Hector facelift. But we are not here to talk about the Hector. We are here to talk about the MG4 Hatchback. It's already attracting a lot of crowd here at the MG exhibit. It debuted in 2022 and now we are told that MG is considering this model for India. MG and their parents SAIC, they have a battery technology which they call the Rubik's Cube battery pack, right? So it's a very thin battery pack. Because of that, the designers are able to make this a really low car. It's got a center of gravity of 490 millimeters. I think the tail end is the prettiest angle for the car. The front end looks good too, but I really like how this spoiler comes out and the way the tail lights are designed. It all looks quite nice to me. It has two options. One is a single motor setup, and that's a rear wheel driven car, and that puts out somewhere around 200 PS of power if I'm not wrong. And then there is the all-wheel drive as well, which will put out 449 PS and go from 0 to 100 in under 4 seconds. It's quick, and with such a low car, that low center of gravity, it should handle really well. Since we already have someone sitting here, let me quickly just show you what the legroom is like, what the headroom is like. Does it look comfortable in there? Not bad. Right, so this is a hatchback, and what you will like about this vehicle is how low it is. So the battery pack for the higher end variants is a 64 kilowatt hour. There are multiple charging options available for the car, and the charging times for that battery pack are actually quite fast because it's capable of charging at 800 volts, and if that's the option that you choose, you can get, with 5 minutes of charging, 200 kilometers of driving range. 200 kilometers, right? So that's phenomenal. And then up to 80% of the charge can be, 0 to 80% of charging can happen in a mere 15 minutes. So that's the MG4, and they are gauging the response of this car for the Indian market, but I have a very strong feeling that they're already convinced that they want to bring this car to India.
There are a few interesting concepts at the Auto Expo this year. Come right back after this short break to know more. Stay with us, you're watching Overdrive. Welcome back, you're watching Overdrive. We are at the Auto Expo in Greater Noida, where manufacturers put forth their best products and also gauge public interest in future products. So it's now time to check out the latest concept cars at the Expo.
So we are at the Maruti Suzuki exhibit, and the big talking point, of course, the showstopper or the show opener, is the EVX Concept, a new vehicle that will go into production as an all-electric crossover. That's why EVX will go into production in 2025. Let me give you a closer look. So this is the EVX Concept that Maruti Suzuki has revealed at the Auto Expo 2023. It looks like a beefier design theme of what we've seen on something like the Brezza, not so much the Grand Vitara. You have these seamless LED strips at the back. It's going to have a 60 kilowatt hour battery pack that will be able to give this car a real world, or an IDC of 500 plus kilometers, an Indian driving cycle worth 500 plus kilometers, which should be phenomenal, a big highlight or a headline for this vehicle. And you can also see that the charging socket is right on top of the wheel arch. It will obviously support DC fast charging as well. We have not been shared the numbers yet. Other good bit is going to be that this is going to have the Suzuki All Grip or the Suzuki All-Wheel Drive, a 4x4 maybe, an electric 4x4, an electric all-wheel drive. So they will do stuff like that with this. In fact, they have developed a bespoke electric architecture with all-wheel drive is what we hear. So with that kind of a driving range with all-wheel drive, I think this is going to be quite feature-rich. It will also have connected tech. It will also have ADAS functionality. We are at the Tata exhibit at the 2023 Auto Expo, and the showstopper here has been the Sierra. This vehicle will come out in 2025 as an all-electric utility or recreational vehicle. Now this isn't a born EV in that sense. It's still using the Gen 2 platform, which means it's using a platform that was originally developed for an ICE and then electrified later. So there are going to be common elements between this and the Harrier Safari, so that D8 architecture from Land Rover will not be carried over as is. Of course, it will be heavily modified to have the battery pack sit in there. The wheelbase is also going to be different than the Safari and the Harrier is what we are told. You see the two-spoke steering wheel that we also saw on the Curvv, a much larger infotainment screen as well, and a new instrumentation. And you can see they've also done a heads-up display, so there'll be a proper heads-up display, not the pop-out one. It will be a proper reflective heads-up display. You see big seats on the inside, both front seats getting their own arms in between. You also see a very big center console, very clean design there. And then you see the seating at the back. It's got that massive headrest. Of course, that will make way for more conventional headrests, because that's also going to block your rear view visibility. The tail is pretty flat. It's got a bit of that Defender Discovery kind of a vibe to it. You can see that it's a nice vertical design, slashed at the bottom, so approach departure angle shouldn't be a problem at all. And it's a Sierra, so it will come with certain off-roading capabilities as well. So it's got some really nice design elements that also highlight that it will have that slight bit of an off-roading character to it, but the cabin clearly tells you that it's more luxury oriented. I'm guessing between 400 to 500 kilometers of range is what Tata will claim on the final production version, maybe with a 50 to 60 kilowatt hour battery pack. And yeah, this is what the Sierra is all about. This right here is the Curvv concept. Of course, we've already said this in the past. It's called the Curvv concept, but it's quite edgy in its design. And compared to what we showed you previously, this one looks slightly different. And that main change comes in the front end. If you remember, what we showed you earlier had a much flatter grille design, because that was the electric variant. This is going to be the Curvv ICE, or the one with the internal combustion engine. Of course, this will transform into an actual grille once it goes into production, but this is essentially what the design theme is going to be like. So the form is very close to production is what we are being told at Tata. This of course uses the Nexon platform, but under that hood is going to be a new 1.2 turbo GDI or direct injection gasoline engine that Tata has just unveiled here at the Auto Expo. It will put out about 125 PS of power. That edgy theme that we saw previously, that will also continue. But while there are no proper tailpipes here right now, there will be tailpipes, because again, this is going to be the ICE version of the Curvv. Let's also take a look at the cabin. They will take forward this steering wheel design, the two-spoke design, and there will be the new infotainment systems as well. In fact, we have seen these on the Ultras as well over here. They are doing a different instrumentation and infotainment. They are looking at different instrumentation and infotainment designs. So I think the Curvv will also have the new age systems in that sense. Here it shows a massive glass panel for the roof, hinting that the final version could have a panoramic roof. And they've already told us that it will come out in 2024, and that's going to be both the variants, the electric as well as the ICE.
Well, the Auto Expo is open to the public until the 18th of January, so do visit the India Expo Mart at Greater Noida to check out the latest cars and two-wheelers on display. Also remember to visit the Overdrive stall at Hall 9 and stall N9. Do pay us a visit. We'll see you next week. Until then, ride and drive safe.